Friends and family, welcome back. My name is Dan, and it's been a while since I've done one of these videos. For anyone who follows me on Instagram, I still do stuff on there all the time, but my YouTube channel has been slow. But I have some videos planned for the end of the year, and so we're going to call this Season 2 of Lone Wolf Weightlifting. But to honor Season 1 and really the inspiration behind this whole channel, I'm going to finish what I started with the weightlifting retrospective. So that video will be called Night and Day. But this video is a prologue to that. This is called Twilight. And I want to use this video to explain the theme of Night and Day, how I'm sort of going to approach this, both in an organizational way, but also in how I'm going to tackle the overall theme of my entire retrospective series. So Night and Day is about the tension of opposites. And this video actually was inspired by, the name of this video was inspired by a stanza in Ethereal, which I'll read. And it says, "Trickling twilight, trying to see erratic embers extending a plea. Remember to smile no matter the day. Through misery, madness, whatever they say." And to abbreviate what all of that means, I will just say that twilight represents the balance of light and dark. It's sort of that period after sunset and before sunrise. So anyways, I don't want to go too much into what the meaning of twilight is, but I want to focus on the balance of light and dark. And I'm going to draw a parallel from there to the balance of reason and emotion. Now, this particular part of Ethereal that I just read is inspired by a conversation that I had with my friend. And she is probably the first person who I ever met, who I would say is, or the first person who I ever met who had a discussion with me about the idea of being a sensitive individual. And when I say that, I mean emotionally sensitive. Feeling emotions is a great thing. There's this, I've talked about this in another video, but for men specifically, there's this notion, this idea, I think, that it's really cool and it's good to be super stoic and to hide your emotions and to not display them and to not really, I don't know what the extent of that is. And yes, in public, to some degree, yes, we have to be stoic. We can't be like this. That's crazy. No, but it's like it's a tension, I would say, especially for highly emotional people. Like when they go out in public, like they can express themselves, and it's usually done through like clothing and animation, and there's lots of ways to do it without being just full on emotion. But what I want to get at here is that this is also the underlying structure of my weightlifting journey. So when I first picked up everything, I approached it as I was. I was a very rational person. I looked at Zach Tellinger's channel and I learned all of the physical, rational details of how to snatch, what I need to do, the positions, what muscle groups I need to train and get better, the mobility demands, all of that stuff. And then I approached it in a very rational, logical way, at least for me anyway. I learned how to snatch balance, how to overhead squat, and then I started learning how to, do pulls, hang pulls, and then worked into it, all that good stuff. That's rational. That's good. Um, but then what I really needed, and this came after I met my friend here and when I created these poems, was the irrational aspect of training. And that's emotion. Because I can tell you without a doubt that emotion lifts weights. You can ask any weightlifter, anyone who just lifts weights in general, not just Olympic lifts, powerlifting, just any activity, running, swimming, it's fueled by emotion. So the tension that I needed to hold here now, after writing these poems, I couldn't really understand what possessed me to write them. That was actually the only explanation I had. It was like some kind of possession. And there's some cool explanations I could go over, and maybe I will in some other video. But it was essentially my irrational side that helped me write those poems. And when I realized that I had that part of me, and this is the opposite of reason. This was in the darkness. So in this sense, reason, logic, we could call it logos, if you will. That's light. Dark, or essentially unconscious, is connection, is love, is the irrational. We can call this eros. Logos and eros are two terms that I'll explore in a future video. And so what I had to do to get to my 60 kilo snatch, because that was what I wanted. It wasn't about lifting the most weight. It wasn't about being a competitive weightlifter. It wasn't about anything other than getting to this 60 kilo snatch, because I knew I could do it. I knew it was very conservative as far as my strength at the time, how much I could squat, how much I could deadlift, all that stuff. I was like, I know I could do this. I know this is very manageable, but I want it to look good, and I want it to be I want to love it. I want it to be incredible. That's why I made the lone wolf persona. It's a persona. It's just that. It's a performance, the lone wolf thing. Anyone who knows me personally, who knows Dan, the individual, knows that I'm not a recluse. I don't just snatch, clean, and jerk and then come home and study analytical psychology and look up Carl Jung quotes. That's fucking crazy. What now? Because I do struggle to balance, just like everyone else. Like I'm not impervious to any of the wonderful flaws associated with being a human being. But I think a sort of responsibility for us to acknowledge when we sway too far in one direction or the other. That's my personal opinion. And that's part of why I created the lone wolf persona, because it's this individual who has managed on his own to hold this tension of opposites. And that persona, that lone wolf, was born on May 10th, 2024. That's when I hit my 60 kilo snatch, and it was messy. It wasn't what I wanted it to look like, but it was mine. And I got there, and from there I knew what I had to do to get better. And I would say that entire summer, most of that lifting was fueled almost entirely by emotion. I did not improve technically, I don't think, that well, until I met Zach Tellender towards the end of September last year. And so I'm going to leave this video off right here. For now, I'll just say I wanted to put this segment in the main video, but it didn't really make the cut. Song choices and whatnot. I really wanted to use this song though. This is for Heisenberg, the introduction and the main song by Hozo. And I used this right before I hit my 60 kilo snatch. So very meaningful song for me. And I've been looking forward to making this montage for a while. So with that, enjoy the prologue and stay tuned for the full video. Until next time, friends.
That's the real enemy.